Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Wilner. I am currently in SEL 2. I did SEL 1 a couple of years ago. Soul-centered living for us USM folk. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm very grateful to have an opportunity to share with you my experience. Before I started at USM, I had been doing different kinds of work in consciousness for a number of years. Coming into SEL 1, I think I was going on my 11th year working with a psychoanalyst. I know, only 11. I had done some work with a coach who was a USM grad, and I had just started a bit of study and practice of Zen meditation. And all of those practices were essential for me at the time and very helpful and very healing. And at the same time, I sort of felt like, well, I've done all this work. Why don't I feel kind of like farther along? And in particular, I felt particularly stuck in my work, in my creative work. I'm a writer and director for screen and stage. And I felt that for all the work I'd done, I still felt very hampered inside by a lot of self-doubt, a lot of fear, a pretty ferocious inner critic. I'm sure I'm totally alone in this experience. And so coming into USM, I really had just a very strong intention to heal whatever I could in this. And sure enough, over the course of the months, working in the trio process, working with Mary and Ron and my coach and on my own, I really started to uncover a very deeply held misbelief, particularly around the idea that if I was true to myself, if I honored the inspiration and expression of my own soul, then somehow I would be a failure, somehow I would be unloved and unlovable. And who knows where exactly that came from, obviously some form of spiritual curriculum. But once I had uncovered that, I really had a path forward and was really able to use the program, the support of Ron and Mary and my classmates and the processes that you would have exposure to really start letting this go through compassionate self-forgiveness and a range of other tools. And sure enough, the more I did that, the more I started to experience the liberation, the creative freedom that I had so yearned for so long. So over the course of my first year, I chose to direct and produce a play, a theatrical production of Beckett's Waiting for Godot, one of my all-time favorite plays, something I dreamed of doing for many, many years. That was just a beautiful project. I experienced a huge amount of support from my classmates. Sure enough, the more that I went out to do this project, the more my curriculum came up and difficult material would arise, and I was able to use the class to really start letting that go in really a kind of a fast track. And then sort of like the creative mojo from that project sort of propelled me forward into new projects, one of which really just struck me in terms of the level of kind of trust and surrender that I found myself having, whereas previously I'd sort of had feeling like I have to plan every last thing before we could make decisions. Here I sort of just said, okay, this is the date where we're going to shoot this short film, and all of the things that we needed for that to succeed, from the money to our artistic collaborators to just even the weather cooperating, they all just kind of appeared as they needed to. And so it's my life now is really not, I don't really recognize it to before my USM time. And I'll just end with this one little anecdote from just this morning, because I think it's so illustrative of the depth of the shift. And so I woke up this morning and I sat down to write, as I do every morning, and I just noticed that old friend of mine, that old voice, that old inner critic, which I hadn't heard or felt for some time. And it was saying all the usual things: you're no good and you'll never make it in this industry and you might as well not try, and all these very friendly bits of counsel. And before USM, I might have just gone right down that rabbit hole, listened to that voice, believed that voice, struggled to write as a result, then felt worse about myself. Then, of course, the voice is right, and so, it just would have turned into a very bad day, and multiple bad days might have compounded in that way, sometimes even weeks. And today, I just found myself going, there's that old voice again. That's funny. It was just the ego showing up, doing its thing, just the bubble machine of my mind. And I was able to just, it so struck me that I didn't even really do anything. It was almost at this point a reflex within me, so ingrained had it become through my work here, where I just noticed it. I came into sort of compassionate resonance with myself of, oh, that's not very pleasant. I just kind of let it go, went into my heart, and started writing, and I had a beautiful day of writing. So it reminded me of that beautiful quote from Van Gogh. I think he said something like, if ever you should hear a voice within you that says you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and the voice will be silenced. And so I think this program really has helped me silence that voice and discover my true voice, that voice of love behind it all. And I really wish that for all of you. And so if you really feel called to do this work, I encourage you, take the leap, find your voice, and I wish you all the best.